But thanks for listening. Yeah. Welcome everybody to We Say Things episode whatever it is. Forgot to look it up. Suns fan here with Sindarin. We are in a hotel room in Sweden. And I'm sorry to the patrons. If you notice the graphic is not updated, it is a pain in the ass for me to do it when I'm away from home. I got lazy. This is the first time I got lazy, I feel like.
But we will still have the right shout-outs.
Which we will do now.
We'll do them right away.
Is this the top?
That's the top, I think. I'll check.
Yep.
All right. Thank you to Mechazor, Empire of Dirt, 10 out of 10 Goldblums, Lakers in Cancun, Amish Toaster, brace yourselves, the Zero Net Worth Clock's coming, No Matter Than a Hatter, Crownfall Enjoyer, Suns Nugget Boy STGC Daniel, Pepperballs, and T-Coil.
Thank you also to Vlad. Let's have Puppy on the podcast. Disco Farm D, The Megapope, Shark TM, Janie, Dop, Wooden Aftertaste, Anonymous, and the term debugging came from a real moth found in a computer in 1947, Mr. Niebling. Wow.
That's funny.
That's cool.
I did not know that.
I like that. That's a fun one, Mr. Niebling. Thank you.
So because of a random moth, it started being called a bug when things didn't work.
Yeah.
Because of a moth. Imagine being that moth now and looking back on life.
What do you think it would be called if it wasn't a bug?
Error.
Fixing error.
Yeah, something like that. Something basic.
Ring.
No.
All right, so there's a huge ass patch
That's right.
we will go through it. This is not going to be. Sindarin promises me this is not going to be a 3-hour one.
That's right.
But we'll see, Sindarin. He has control of the mouse.
That's right. So I get all the blame if this takes too long.
That's right.
All right, so
there's a lot of small things that we won't cover, obviously.
I think we'll talk about big hero changes and shard changes. And
that's right, Sindarin.
That's good. Very good. Facets and innates and stuff. We'll talk about the quality of life changes, and then I think we skip the treasure entirely.
I mean, we're gonna briefly show it as we
can look
down,
at it, but not go into detail.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So first up, we have the focus on your hero part, which is that now you can keep track of what teammates have which items to try to combat double buying radiance, double buying auras, and all this stuff.
Yep. Very nice quality of life.
Yeah. Then there is the auto delivery function. You can set your courier to deliver purchased items automatically. This is kind of how it works in Turbo, right? By default. Whenever you buy it, it immediately flies out to you.
Yeah.
And now you can set up more about how you want your courier to work. Then we just got mark for sell a couple months ago. Now you get mark for buy, so you can be like, "This, I'm 100% sure I want this to be my next item."
According to BSJ, this is straight from Deadlock. Which is cool.
I did not know that. Then they've upgraded the starting item display a bit. I think it's just been separated better into categories because it was a bit messy. They've upgraded the buyback tooltip to be very elaborate about why you have or do not have buyback, what you need to do, what your unreliable gold is, how much it costs, how long you're dead. A lot of stuff there. Again, just more information if you care about it. More pre-game clarity. See which team you're on. Well, that should not be surprising to you, as Radiant's on the left and Dire's on the right, but I'm not really sure what this is, actually.
I feel like it's...
Oh, this is from Immortal Draft, right? This is not how it looks, because to me this just looks the same as always.
Yeah.
With the role suggested and then...
Oh, is that what it's doing? Oh, you're right. I don't know. We'd have to see it in game.
Okay.
Not sure.
Then there's the item context menus. You can control right-click for shop item shortcuts. I don't know how useful this one is in particular, but the rest of the stuff is very useful. And then Dota Plus guide continuously updates on the fly based on your current build, which is already a vast improvement because the previous Dota Plus guide sometimes would suggest you buy a bracer minute 60.
That's right.
Sometimes. I don't know why that.
That's cool, though. It updates.
Then we have this. So full disclosure, we've been casting 4 games today at this tournament. So we got to see the teams use this a bit. I think neither of us got to play yet. Is that correct? You didn't play either? So our reference is just what we saw.
Yeah, basically we went to bed, and when we woke up, the patch was out.
Yeah. So this one we saw, the teams are really using this a lot right now. So there's additional pings now. There already was some of them, like there's a ward here, etc. But they added some more. They added, what is it, attack here, defend here, I love you, I want to take you out for dinner. Yeah, you know.
The attack one.
First base, second base, third base pings. They have the whole thing.
You've ruined the attack one for me in the cast.
Yeah.
I can't unhear it now.
I noticed it immediately when somebody does an attack ping. It really sounds like the sound that comes up in the TV show 24 when it's like this many hours remaining. It has this like iconic like dung dung sound or whatever. It sounds very much like that. We got item pickup effect, so it's a little bit more obvious when you pick up something from the ground. You can see a route on the minimap on which way your hero is going to go when it does the on my way ping. The status labels are a little bit more included or elaborate now. There's more stuff. You can see ethereal, you can see doomed, stuff like this. Better voice chat quality, I think that's interesting. It's always been pretty low bit rate, the in-game Dota 2 voice. I wonder what they moved it from and to. It doesn't say that.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to test this one out firsthand.
A lot of more options for unit controls, hotkey setups.
The options is crazy.
Yeah, you can do so much stuff.
And the fact that there's a search is super quality of life.
It's a very clean UI. And I mean, it's the same UI as usual. They've just added a lot more things so you can really sit and tinker with little things you want to change. We're not going to go over all of those, but there's like new things for certain things like canceling. What was it? Someone today, Nightfall, fucked up going through a gate because he didn't have a setting with press stop to cancel on structures or something. There's like new things. Then the notifications in-game, you can decide what you want to have pop up. So if you don't care that somebody bought an item or somebody did this or that, you can select what you want to see. Then we have a whole section on ability draft. Neither of us really plays this very much, but there's a small part of the community that really care about this, and this is massive for them.
I'll say this. I mean, ability draft is a really cool concept. Obviously, our game, like Ability Arena and then now Relic Arena, is kind of has aspects of this where you're mixing and matching skills. The thing that always bothered me, and I've been saying this for how many years now, is the bodies you're just randomly giving them.
Right.
It just like fucks up your whole. You get like, what's the worst body in the game again? Like Clink's. You, like, what are you gonna do with Clink's body? It's just horrific. So now, finally, you draft your body.
Yep.
Which I think is an incredible quality of life for this. I mean, I think some of the ability drafters didn't want this initially. I feel like you gotta add stuff like this to incentivize other people to start playing the game, because it feels like it's just this very close-knit, same people over and over and over playing this game mode. And hopefully this will open it up.
I'm assuming that whoever has first pick on the body has last pick on first spell or something.
So to my understanding, again, you can read it here, but I think it's just mix and match. So you can choose to get your hero body as first pick or an ability first.
Right, okay, so it's just another...
It's just in the pool.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good way to do it, actually. Okay, this is obviously big for...
There's like a bit of spring cleaning.
Yeah, performance improvements. The game should be faster to boot. Things should run smoother. Better post-game. Better background options. They fixed a dead neutral creep glitch that's been in the game since it came out. I'm pretty sure this is the one where when you come out of fog and there's a neutral camp that was just farmed, the creeps die again. They animate death again. And actually, this has always been communicating information, because if you came there, you would know somebody farmed it recently.
Yeah.
So it would give you info that you are not supposed to have. That's always been there. Bit of improvement to vector targeting to avoid misclicks. That's very nice. And then we have a ton of overall improvements. We're going to skip these unless there's something you want to go over.
Added new global sound effect when Tormentor dies.
Yeah, that's the one we experienced today. When Tormentor dies, it sounds like the death sound from one of your teammates. It's very close.
Yeah,
I think they should change that a bit.
You should. I want a global
pitch.
Scream at the top of the lungs. There's some random ass shit.
Yeah, I mean, it feels a little bit like a placeholder solution, just because it sounds so much like the regular death sound, just at a different pitch. Lots of bug fixes. We're also going to skip over these. If you guys are interested, you can look at them, because the more interesting thing is obviously changes to the actual game.
Let's go over all the tooltip changes.
Yeah, they fixed some relics that have been incorrect forever. They fixed some tooltips. Okay. And then they made this.
That's so awesome.
Which is a taunt for Pudge, where he is... Who was it? Was it Purge today that said this is from
BSJ.
Mario Kart? Was it BSJ?
Yeah.
He said it was like from Mario Kart, this exact... That's funny. All right, do you want to look at the things? The sets?
I mean...
Really quickly? All right, let's just say cool or meh. Okay.
Meh.
This was Spirit Breaker. Anti-Mage Persona.
It's cool.
All right. Luna.
Cool.
Kid Invoker with a carpet.
On a magic carpet. Persian magic carpet. Hell yeah.
I mean, the magic carpet is a really cool idea, but it's Kid Invoker, so I'm contractually obligated to say I do not like it.
We'll agree to disagree.
Wrought Iron Ripper for Necro.
Cool.
Huskar.
Meh.
Axe.
No.
Pudge.
Awesome.
Rotso the Clown. Earthshaker.
This is cool. I like it.
Sand King.
Oh, that's awesome. That is fucking awesome. That's got to be the best Sand King set.
And your favorite hero, Lion.
Ah, fuck me.
Cannon Roar Confessor. His weapon is a candlestick.
Finger of Cannon. Cannon of Death.
The fuck is the set? All right, let's move on.
Moving on.
All right, so this is where we're going to be spending most of our time, obviously. The patch is... It's a ton of lines, but I think our overall conclusion after working it today is that there's a lot of text, but a lot of the things aren't like very big. It's just a little tweak here, a little tweak here, just shitloads of those, which I think is great for the game to just have a lot of little tweaks.
Full disclosure, we were very bored with the meta.
Yeah.
The casts were... I mean, we can try to make them fun, but I was super fucking bored. Like, seeing the same heroes every single game, the same everything.
I think the biggest problem...
Today's games were so much better. Holy shit.
Biggest problem the end of 738 had was just, I feel like in every position there were like 5 to 10 heroes that were actually really, really much better than the second best. And then I think Jenkins put it well in one of the panels. He said there's like S tier heroes, and then there's S plus and there's A. S tier didn't exist. There's like the heroes that were way too strong, and then the drop off was too big.
Right.
And we got a lot of changes to really help address that, so that's very good. All right, so I think these get repeated further down.
But the GIFs are going to show what they look like, so we might as well do these.
Okay, sure. Okay. So some of the highlights, they're obviously showcasing some of the dumbest stuff they've put in the game that they think the community will love.
So good.
One of these is a new facet for Clockwork that you can... Yeah, it's a facet. So there's a facet where every time you can choose to eat chainmails to gain +4 armor per chainmail you eat, and it stacks indefinitely. And as an asterisk on this, obviously Clockwork's innate makes him do more damage the more armor he has. So you can technically get infinite damage on this hero now with infinite gold.
That's right. Win rate has gone down by 5%, I believe.
Win rate has plummeted because now people just pick Clockwork and don't know how to play it, or just buy chainmails and boots and give themselves 100 armor. Someone on my Discord server today said they played a game with a Clockwork who got to like 50 stacks of the chainmail, so he had like really high armor, and he was playing against magic damage and pure damage, so did not win, I believe. That's unfortunate. And then another one showcased here, Monkey King with a new facet that allows him...
Sorry, the Clockwork one I believe replaces... Or does it? Is it the third facet?
I think it's just a third option.
Okay, because the Monkey King does replace the
We'll have to check. We'll get there.
I know the Monkey King one does replace the old Wukong's version.
So the old Wukong's was the one where the command would continue for a few seconds after you leave the ring. The new one is you can choose to switch places with a soldier, and it makes you invulnerable for 1.5 seconds, and wherever you were will now be a soldier, and you take the place of another soldier.
Can you stay in that state?
You become invulnerable for 1.5 seconds, and then you can cast it again shortly after. It has a 3-second cooldown, 1.5 second duration. I think this is really strong.
Yeah, it seemed good.
It seems very, very good.
Here's the videos. Oh, well, it doesn't show the Nature's Prophet one for some reason.
Where did this go?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, there's another one called Nature's Prophet, which replaces Ironwood Treant. Good fucking riddance. And this one where when you kill heroes, they drop money bags, and those can be picked up by both teams. This is some super random Diablo stuff, where whoever clicks faster or walks over it gets money bags. Here's the Monkey King swap sides thing. See him get out of blood right there and then leave. Here's the Clockwork. Oh yeah, he gets bigger every time he eats a chainmail as well.
That's awesome.
And it's like there's a fun little detail that someone pointed out on Reddit that I saw in the clip where he's scaling there with the armor. The heroes that are trying to attack him are the same heroes that are trying to attack in the comic of he's got +1 armor, this guy's unkillable.
Oh, really?
That's is funny. Drow, Axe, and Jugger.
That's a good touch.
It's a funny little detail. They love that meme. Valve love it so much. Okay. Then we have 6 different places in the map that have been changed a bit. I looked over these. Some of them are more meaningful than others, especially at pro play. This is one of them. So at the bottom tier 1 tower, this pathway and the camp is changed quite a bit. So you can see this is the new version. The camp is up to the left, and the old version it was down to the left. And the reason this matters is that this becomes a lot more accessible for the Dire to contest now. This camp is way easier for them to see and go and steal from. Spot number 2 is mid tier 2 tower, which now has a ramp. So you can actually backstab the mid tier 2 tower when you have high ground control. This is really big for the attacking team of Dire. Then we have the third one. This is the mid tier 1 tower for Radiant. There is now a... am I right in saying this is the mid tier 1 tower?
Yep.
Yeah.
The ramp is shifted.
Yeah, this is shifted a bit. This is probably the smallest change. It's just a little bit closer. Then we have the hard camp on Radiant's high ground next to Roshan. It has been moved a little bit further left, and the stairs have also moved up a little bit. This should, in theory, make Radiant a little bit better at fighting around the Roche pit, I would think, because they're closer to it, and the angle they have is a bit better. But yeah, this is pretty close. Oh, I can't show you guys the entire thing at once with the setup we have, but you're seeing the gist of it anyway. We're seeing a little bit more than you guys are on the image. Then we have the rightmost Lotus Pool. This has been moved closer to the lane, and it has 2 paths instead of 1. So this is the new version. You can access it from top left and bottom left, instead of before where there was just 1 path in from the left. This really helps Dire contest this one, because they have a very much easier access point. And finally, in similar fashion, on the left-hand side, that already had 2 pathways, but it has been moved a little bit closer to the Dire. You can see on the top right here, they get closer access from their path. So a little bit of help for them. Okay, neutral items.
Oh, baby.
So there's been a lot of shifting here, and I just want to preface this with, as usual, I am one of the people that doesn't really necessarily enjoy neutral items the most.
I do.
But they made some really good choices this time around, so I'm very happy that if we do have to have these, then you need to cycle out the egregious stuff, and they really did. We don't have Ogre Seal Totem, we don't have Ninja Gear, those were the 2 biggest. We don't have Gossamer Cape, that was also a big one, but we'll get to the Gossamer Cape thing in just a moment. So first of all, there's a new tier 1 item called Dormant Curio, where you choose when you get your first option, you choose to not take an item.
Well, it's RNG if you even get this option.
You get this option 4 out of 8. You get to choose between 4 out of 8 items on tier 1. So you'll get this about half the time. You can choose this, which gives you no power at all on that tier.
But you
still get an enchantment.
Yeah.
So you can enchant it, but this item itself, the artifact, does nothing. But it has hidden potential, which means at any later tier, when you choose to cash in your curio, when you use it on tier 2, for example, it will be 30% stronger with what the item itself does, the enchantment of that item. And this kind of becomes a game of, all right, how long do I want to stagger this? Because you can then, at tier 2, you can choose the Dormant Curio again and stagger it to tier 3.
Is it the enchantment or the artifact that's stronger?
It's the artifact that's stronger.
Yeah.
I said the enchantment. It's the artifact that's stronger. So we saw quite a few pro players choose this today.
Yes.
In the games. They seem to really
feel like this
this.
is going to be a really hard one to balance, but I find it really fascinating because if you use it right away on tier 2, for example, then you can't use it ever again, right? And we saw a couple players wait until tier 4, so they basically had half a neutral item for 1, 2, and 3, and then on 4, they cash in, as it were.
It's kind of the Midas of neutral.
Well, actually, we only saw one player do that all the way, and it was quite bad because we'll get to Outworld staff soon. That's the one he chose.
Yeah.
Because obviously you don't know what you're going to get. But
right.
Yeah, very cool concept. I really like it.
Then we have the Cobalt Cup, which is obviously inspired by the Cobalt Taskmaster, holding the golden cup that has the move speed aura. This is move speed 10. It's 10%. It's just a typo. And this item does nothing until you activate it, and then you get 10% move speed for yourself and every ally around you in 1,000 radius for 6 seconds. It's like a chasing item.
I didn't know it did nothing by default.
I believe so.
Oh, okay.
If it gives you a 10% move speed passively, this is the best neutral item in the entire game.
I thought it would... Yeah, I mean, the first time I read this, I didn't know it was percent anyway,
but
so I figured it would just give 10 move speed.
Then we have the next one, which is the new Gossamer Cape, but this is tier 1. So this is called Sister's Shroud. When you fall below 50% HP, you get 200% evasion for 8 seconds. While it's active, you dodge an attack and lose 75% of the evasion number. So you go 125, then 50, and then 0 when you dodge again.
No, that's not true. It's literally 75% of 200.
Oh, so you go from 200
to 50.
To 50, and then...
It drops off hard.
Got it, I see, okay.
Yeah.
I understood it as numerical value. Okay, so it goes 200, 50, and then... What's that? What's left? Like 12 and a half or something.
Yeah.
Okay. And this does not recharge until you either kill a hero or die. I don't know if assists count on this. It doesn't say.
Not sure.
But this is like the new Gossamer Cape where people were pissed off when they play TA. You keep trying to hit a hero, you can't hit your first swing. Same with Sven and all these heroes that are about few hits that hit hard.
It's a weird one though, right?
I think this is really good. But
if you're getting a kill and you were never hit, it's not like it's adding a charge.
Yeah, it does get better.
So, kind of weird. It's a weird one.
Then we have the Jitty Pollen Bag. We saw some people run this today. There's been some changes to like wording of lifesteal and regen and all this stuff. It's now called health restoration loss. I don't know exactly what this encompasses and which ways it changes mechanics, but for all intents and purposes, let's just keep it simple. Say you heal less.
Not from lifesteal though. That's the big difference now.
So for 12 seconds, this is really long duration. Everyone around you in a 700 radius lose 1% of max health per second. This says 12, it's 12%. And the health restoration loss is 20%. And yeah, last 12 seconds, 45-second cooldown. We have not checked whether this cancels daggers. If it does, that's crazy. I would think it's HP loss, but who knows? This was semi-popular today.
I feel like it would say literally HP loss.
Yeah.
In that case, like max health as damage is just the amount. It's just damage. It's not a different mechanic usually.
And then we have my personal...
This one's cool.
I think this is the strongest item of the bunch that's coming out now, and I think this will probably get tweaked relatively soon, but we'll see. The Dazoon Bloodright, named after... It's like Dazzle also has this item called Pipe of Dazoon, right? It's like some sort of lore shit with a demon or whatever. Spells have 15% larger AoE, but now cost health equal to 35% of their mana cost. When you put this item on, every spell on your bar has a health and a mana cost that you can see at all times. Similar to with Huskar if you're paying health for spells or whatever. This is a little bit of a concept in this patch. This is not the only thing where you pay health to cast spells. They've added that a little bit more. This is incredible on some heroes. We talked about heroes that, for example, have ways of regaining health so that the cost is kind of 0.
First hero I thought it was Lesh, because you're going to be getting like Bloodstone for lifesteal or whatever, so...
And then we tested Underlord today. The rings are insanely big.
Oh, it's so cool.
Every hero that wants to buy Gleipnir wants this, because more wants more.
Yeah.
We saw, I think, an Enigma take this today, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong, but...
we saw them playing around with Enigma in Sandbox, at least.
Right. Oh, maybe that was it.
It's funny, because the VFX of the black hole don't actually increase, but you can
just
visually...
get further,
yeah, it's kind of deceiving.
Then we have Giant Small. This is a 15-second cooldown. You swing at an enemy. It just passively works with your attacks. When you do that, you do 150% damage. You slow them, you slow them, you slow them. Move speed, attack speed, and cast speed slow. Cast speed slow is pretty rare. So this is kind of a weird one.
15-second cooldown seems pretty long.
I don't think this item is that good.
It goes off on creeps, I assume, right? Yeah, hitting an enemy.
I think so.
My first impression is I like the concept, but the 15 second just seems way too long.
I think maybe you should make it toggleable.
Yeah, if you can choose when it goes off.
Maybe. Yeah.
And this next one I was so wrong about, apparently.
So this is the OD staff. It's super simple. You OD banish yourself for 0.7 seconds. And when you return out of the banish, you take 5% of your max health as damage. So this is the max health as damage again, or health cost.
I think the main reason, it seems random, I think the main reason is for blink daggers, probably.
Could be.
So you can't just blink. I mean, it's 0.7 seconds. It's so small.
But if you have the Dormant Curio, it's 0.91.
Yeah, really
which
strong.
we saw today. Saberlight got absolutely nothing out of this, but it's interesting. It's like a high skill item. It's effectively a secondary Manta dodge, right? You can dodge a projectile. You can bridge the gap for perfect timing on something.
Yeah,
it's a bit odd.
People were taking it, so I guess I'm wrong. I feel like you're going to get better value at almost every other neutral. At that, I mean, it's a tier 4 for God's sake.
I think there's some games where it's very good, but might be slightly overrated by the pros right now. We'll see.
It's missing one neutral here.
It's because it's the broken version of that, right?
No,
which one?
Undying.
Oh, true. Yeah, that's coming up later, I guess. Then we have.
I guess it's because they had it before, right?
Oh yeah. Then we have the Divine Regalia, which is a tier 5 neutral item, and it is just like Rapier. You get stronger, and if you die, it loses its power. But you don't drop this; you just lose the strength of it. And it turns into, I forgot what it's called, Regalia, used, just a broken one, which you can then reconstruct every time you get to upgrade to another tier. You can re-roll that Regalia into something else, just
so
like
it's 20% damage amp on all sources.
20% damage amp and no downside, except if you die, you lose it, which is
pretty big downside.
Of course, but it's kind of interesting because a lot of the other things that historically, like let's say Divine Rapier, for example. When you die, you don't lose it. The enemy team can get it, which is way worse, right? This is relatively low
what do you
opportunity
think?
cost.
So, first of all, I love the concept. Fucking awesome. Do you think this extends games? Because let's say you put it on a carry or whatever, they die. It's useless for 10 minutes until you can recraft. Don't you want to just extend at that point? You know what I mean?
Well, then you could argue the other team will play more aggressively to punish.
Yeah, I guess so.
I
love it, though. I really like this item.
I think this is much better on spell-based heroes than attack-based heroes because 20% spell amp is a lot harder to come by than 20% flat damage. And if you think about how Divine Rapier works, you either get 300 damage or 25% spell amp. 300 damage is... what was I going to say? The 20% is way less than a rapier for physical heroes, but the 20% is almost a rapier for caster heroes, right? This is 80% of a divine rapier on... We saw today a Sand King took this and he obliterated a team fight with it. It's so much damage because you just get kind of a rapier for free, whereas the carries, what's 20% damage? At that point, maybe you hit for like 300, 400.
Yeah, it's good.
It's like 100 damage for them maybe, but... Yeah, it's way less than a rapier, most of the time. Okay, then we have the patch notes. We'll go over the general updates because they're always important because they affect every game. Torment responds at minute 20 instead of 15. We saw that come into effect today, very much so.
And we noticed the first Roche is, like people are going for it before this.
Yeah.
Normally it was people group up, they get Tormentor at 15, Roche is like 21. We've been seeing Roches like 17, 18 now.
Yeah.
And then Tormentor after.
Yeah, and of course now there's 20 minutes, it spawns top. Unless if Night Stalker's in the game, it spawns bottom, I'm assuming. It should just be inverted as usual.
Yeah.
The Tormentor is a little bit easier to kill. It has less base barrier, and it has less regen, so it should be a bit easier to deal with. And the scaling of it is also easier. Then, not going to go into too much detail, I'm not going to read every single line about this, but Roshan is effectively stronger on second life. It seems just overall just stronger. Terrain, we looked at the sliders for that. Yeah. That's the majority of it. There's a couple of other changes. If you guys are interested in the details, you can read that there. And then we have the regen thing we talked about. So lifesteal amp.
Remember this. I can't see shit.
Oh yeah, I need to scroll up.
Yeah,
I need to try to keep more track of it. So lifesteal amp and spell lifesteal amp have been removed, and a new umbrella stat has been created in their place, health restoration. Provides a percentage increase to the health gained from lifesteal, spell lifesteal, and health regen. Positive and negative sources of health restoration stack diminishingly with each other. Health restoration cannot go lower than minus 100% and cannot go higher than 100%. Sources of heal amp stack additively. Heal amp cannot go lower than 100%, has no upper limit. And effects that root and disarm are now considered bind effects and will have the status effect bound overhead. So this means that the thing you talked about with lifesteal, with health restoration, it also includes lifesteal.
Yeah.
It's all of them.
I misread this, I guess, the first time.
So just imagine any way that you could gain health falls in this category. It's just simplification, right? So all the health reduction applies to all of the factors. Then we have Dagger. All versions of the Dagger have the same change. This is an archaic thing from Dota 1 from back in 2004.
That Crit learned last year.
I think that was a joke, but I'm still not sure if he was trolling or not.
I don't think it was a joke.
Blink Dagger, in case you're unaware, you used to be able to what was called overshoot it, where if you targeted the Blink Dagger further away than its max range, you would teleport to 3/4 of its max range. Whereas if you placed it within the exact boundaries of maximum range, you could teleport as close to max range as possible.
It wasn't 3/4 though.
I think it was.
From 1200 to 1000, wasn't it?
Was it only that little? I thought it was 1200 to 900.
Oh.
Either way.
Regardless.
You got a penalty. A pretty serious one on range, and I think this is a good change. I just think that mechanic was...
I mean, this should have been deleted
honestly, it should have. Dota 2 shouldn't even have had this.
Yeah.
To be completely honest. Now you just max click your blink when you want to get away. It makes it easier for beginners. It makes it easy for pros. It's just good for everyone alike. If you're escaping or trying to get in, you don't have to worry about hitting that perfect sweet spot for the Dagger. I'm completely on board with this. All right, we have some numbers changes for Kaya. I'll mention this one. Kaya no longer gives spell lifesteal amp. You have to get the completed Kaya Yasha or Kaya Sanj to get that stat. Meteor Hammer also doesn't have spell lifesteal amp anymore, so that's harder to come by, that overall stat. And now you can see things give health restoration instead of certain amps, which is similar logic. Frost is more expensive. It effectively does the same though, so this is just a nerf. Gives 13% health restoration, which is the same as all the other things it said. And Orb of Corrosion, as a result, is also 50 more expensive and does similar stuff. Eye of Skadi uses 2 ultimate orbs instead of point booster, and it's way more expensive, but it also gives 35 all attributes, which is crazy on universal heroes. But it no longer gives the health and mana. I'm not sure who this is better for and who it's worse for, but just off the top of my head, feels like a universal hero awesome item and worse for everybody else. Is my gut feel. Shiva, blah, blah, blah. Small numbers changes. Helm of the Dominator uses crown instead of diadem. So the build-up is nicer, but the recipe is more expensive. And the item is 75 gold cheaper, so it's just a buff. And this follows through to Helm of the Overlord, which is also 75 cheaper as well. Third nerf in a row to Glimmer Cape. We'll get there eventually, ladies and gentlemen. The magic resistance bonus decreased by 5%, but the Glimmer barrier increased, which I don't understand why we needed this, but apparently. I would still say overall this is probably a nerf, because the constant benefit to you is smaller.
Yeah, for sure.
But the barrier being better is obviously unnecessary. I don't know why they did that. Holy Locket, big nerf on heal amp. Don't know if that was necessary either. This seems like it's specifically targeting Tinker, but we'll get to him.
Kinda.
Kanda and Phylactery getting a bit better. Kanda is 200 cheaper. The Empower cooldown of Phylactery is down by 2 seconds. I think nobody's going to buy this. I think it's still way too.
Like, what would the cooldown need to be? What was it before? It was 4 or 6?
On Phylactery originally?
Yeah.
I think it was 6. But it was worse. Now it's stronger but longer cooldown. It's not so much about Phylactery. I just think Kanda is just such a shit value proposition. It's way too expensive for what it does.
Well, casual Phylacteries were good when the cooldown was lower. So
yeah, I mean, I think Phylactery can maybe make a comeback off of this because it's a stronger proc. But yeah, Kanda is just a mess. Pretty big nerf to Atos. Loses 3 int and double mana cost on Cripple. This item is very good. And Gleipnir follows through. Talisman of Evasion and Radiance lose 5% evasion. I think that's fair. Radiance was very popular and very strong. It still has the blind with the same numbers, but the math changes a bit. And this one is interesting to me. So Urn now uses Circlet instead of Fluffy Hat, which means all heroes, it gives damage. And if you're a universal hero, it obviously gives 2 all attributes, which is kind of nice. You get less health, but it's also cheaper. And then in a similar vein, Spirit Vessel now uses Diadem instead of Vitality Booster, so now that gives 10 all attributes, but no longer 375 health, and is also a bit cheaper because of the Urn change. Same logic. It's interesting because this is not only relevant to universal heroes who get Urn and Vessel, but also a lot of the heroes that get Urn and Vessel actually benefit a lot from the mana. they get from all attributes. So you are less tanky, but there are a lot of upsides aside from that. You get armor from the agi, you get int, so you get some mana, and I think this is better on average. I would say this is a stronger item.
I mean, we weren't seeing it before, right? So.
Yeah. All right, neutral items, here we go. So this is what I was talking about. They cycle out a lot of the stuff that was kind of dumb. Orv's Destruction is out, good change. Pig Pole, I don't mind that so much, but fine. Trusty Shovel made a really big difference, especially in pro games, because of the reliable way of digging up water runes and the RNG of digging up bounty runes. Mm-hmm. I always thought digging up bounty runes was kind of dumb. I'm happy it's out for now. And I think they didn't necessarily need to cycle this out, but I think the most egregious part in Pro Dota was the water rune part of it. Especially now that there's more water on the map, you were able to actually just dig up water runes consistently for your mid hero, whether you were the mid hero or a support. It was just a bit silly. Now I have Chipped Vest.
Can somebody in chat go look up what the original name of the passive for Chipped Vest was?
Right. Because your wish list for this patch was that you would get Chipper, which is a hero from Han, and now they put in Chipped Vest and they called the passive Chipper.
I feel like I would have noticed this before.
I feel like you would have as well.
So is this actually am I imagining things?
I'm not sure.
But yeah, I love Chipped Vest in general from back in the day. So
and then we have all of these. We've already gone over the new ones. Gossamer Cape is out. Iron Talon is out, and then there's. Basically, every item after tier 1 will have an extra line that just says what the numbers are if you use Dormant Curio on it. So the one that upgrades by 30%, they're just telling you what the math is.
Otherwise known as Obscurio.
Yeah, Obscurio. Poor Man's Shield is now back as a neutral item, and it's tier 2, and it gives 30/20 damage block against ranged and melee with 50% chance against creeps, and 100% to proc against hero attacks. We actually saw this exact thing today. We saw a Darkseer go Curio into Poor Man's Shield with Crimson Guard. He was very tanky. Nemesis Curse is out. Ninja Gear, big one, is out. I don't know. I feel like Gale Guard eventually will be cycled out too. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Strange. Psychic Headband is back as a tier 3. And all it does is push the enemy. It does not have the cast range, because it only has enchants now, obviously, like every other item. I think it's pretty weak. It has its moments to push people, but eh. And then we have Ceremonial Robe is gone. Oh yeah, Mindbreaker too. Mindbreaker was also stupid. It wasn't that good anymore, but I don't know.
I love this item.
The fact that you randomly had silence was just...
All right, according to chat, I don't know if this is true, though. I don't know if... They're saying... that the old Chipped Vest didn't have an ability name. I don't think that's possible, right?
I think that might be true. Because it's not active.
It doesn't... Don't they always have a name, though? Even
not necessarily. I think sometimes they forget or don't think about it. But either way.
That's so funny if that's true.
And then for tier 5s, we lose Magic Lamp for now, and Pirate Hat. Pirate Hat was bad.
God, so bad.
Pirate Hat was just bad.
Dog shit.
So they swap out Magic Lamp and Pirate Hat, and then instead we get Divine Regalia, which we talked about. It's called Disgraced Regalia when it breaks, which is just a placeholder item. And then the big one returning is, you think this is the best tier 5 neutral item? I would be inclined to agree most of the time. It's called Helm of the Undying. When you die... It's the same effect, visual effect, as when you have Wraith King Ags. Your hero turns into a Wraith. For 5 seconds, you can still attack, cast all your spells like normal, and then you die after 5 seconds. But if any enemy hero dies within 1200 range of you, you extend the death timer by 5 seconds. So in a good team fight where things go well, you could find yourself alive for another 10, 15, 20 seconds if enemies keep dying around.
Best case scenario, this is, well, not best case, 30 seconds without buybacks.
Yeah.
Right? You die first, then 5 enemies.
Yeah.
This one...
And they can't stop it. They can stun you like a Wraith King Ghost.
Yeah, but they can't
kill you again.
So I love that tier 5... Like, I want tier 5s to be super broken. This feels like the old tier 5s. Super broken. It is not on the same level, in my opinion, as these other ones. I think that the extended delay will be nerfed for sure if they want all of them to be at what the last patch had in terms of the level of balance.
The main thing I'm a little bit hesitant about saying just how broken this is if you compare it to something like Stygian Deso, where you just get 13 minus armor on a carry. That will work every time you attack, whereas Helm of the Undying will work one time when you die, and then it's specifically only very, very good if you then get a kill. Whereas the other one is like every situation you hit anything, this matters. It matters for killing creeps, towers, jungling, whatever. Although there's not much jungling generally when you get to tier 5s. Then we have some slight numbers changes to enchantments. I think we'll just go over them, but we will add the additional lines where something new happens. So Brawny gets slow resistance at tier 4. Alert gets attack range at tier 4, which is pretty interesting. That's the component that's usually called Vast. Mystical gets cast range. Quicken gets evasion. And Tough gets knockback resistance. Vampiric gives bonus night vision. And Wise gives 15% max mana. And Crude was changed from giving slow resistance to giving health restoration, because if you want the slow resistance, you take Brawny. This is just a buff. Like, the neutral items at tier 4 are just stronger.
Yep.
And I think that was some of the feedback that fans had, was that they felt like the neutral items didn't matter enough at later tiers. This is a pretty elegant way of doing it, in my opinion. All right, heroes. This is 2/3 of the volume of the patch.
Well, we're going to be skipping maybe...
We'll skip over a lot of the stuff.
70% of them, probably.
Yeah, but we'll talk about every new facet, and we'll talk about every redesigned skill, and then if there's like major number changes or broken heroes that got nerfed where it's meaningful. And then we'll try to keep it simple like that.
So this one, Abaddon, this is like the old shard, I believe, right? So
Yeah.
Malignant Mist replaces the Mephitic Shield, which was the one that... I never liked that there was two different like aphotic shield choices, where one is kind of like Blade Mail and the other one's the old version. So they get rid of that. And Malignant Mist is the other facet now, where Mist Coil will apply your attack damage, essentially. Which I think this is like conceptually really cool.
And then the Mephitic Shroud is now the Shard.
Yeah, exactly.
These are
I'm fine with.
These are identical numbers, by the way. This is the exact same abilities. They didn't tweak anything. They just swapped them around. I think this is exactly the way Malignant Mist worked as a Shard. I think it's the exact same way that Aphotic Shield worked with the other one.
Well, no,
just that. No, the Shard is better.
Like, the had like cooldown that was different and stuff like that, right?
Actually, this is better than the old one, but you're paying for it because the old one, when you took, what was it? No, it might have been slightly worse. Now I'm actually second guessing myself. Let's just move on. Alchemy. I will mention this because it's funny. Dividends gets nerfed. I don't know why. Who cares? Like, nobody plays this.
That's the one where you get GPM for each ags that you provide. I mean,
that's so random.
People like Slacks would be. I mean, I'd actually try this.
It's just so random.
But yeah, it was not strong, so I'm kind of weird.
I haven't seen a single player take this. Today we cast a 4 Alch. He still went 250 starting gold. You know?
Yeah.
They just don't take this. And he did end up giving an Ags away.
Yeah.
So, but the starting gold is just really valuable. In my opinion, that facet should be removed. If you remove seed money from Alch, it gets way more interesting, because then people
that one. Yeah.
It's like the 250 starting gold is just boring, and it doesn't add anything.
Well, plus both of them are gold related.
Yeah.
Right?
I just don't think that one's very interesting. All right. Numbers nerfs to AA, very strong hero in the previous patch. It's still very good. Arc Warden's facet called Rune Replica. You now get an Arcane Rune instead of Invis Rune.
So this is a hero I normally hate casting, but with these new facets, I have yet to see them in a pro game. They're super interesting. The one that you pull the runes in,
Yeah.
and then this one, which feels like if you guys played Ability Arena, we had a Rune God where you're putting all the runes on one hero.
Yeah.
That's effectively what this kind of is. I think they're interesting.
Yeah, still not sure just when this hero is going to make a splash. Okay, they buffed Call Out slightly on Axe.
Yeah, this was not to... Axe is not played at all. Mm-hmm. Is this enough? Seriously?
No, no. But, okay, I'll preface it this way.
A lot of things got nerfed.
A lot of heroes got like 1 or 2% stronger, and a lot of heroes got like 2% weaker, some 5, some even 10. If you get very tiny buffs on your hero and the counters get very small nerfs, the relative difference is actually quite meaningful sometimes. So I'm not going to go out here and say, wow, this hero didn't get buffed enough, because ultimately when the meta develops, I think we're going to reach a point now where way more heroes will feel playable, because the ridiculous outliers, all of them got nerfed by like 5%, most of them anyway, and a lot of the other heroes got buffed slightly, so they'll converge quite well. All right, Bad Rider. We cast this today. This looked really fun. I actually think this is very good, but in that game, Boxy just got shit on. So Arsonist, first of all, he had before. This has been reworked. Arsonist now gives you 5 levels on Sticky Napalm instead of 4. It's like plenty of facets by this point. Gives you an extra skill point in a spell. When you have level 5 Sticky Napalm, it makes you apply a Sticky Napalm stack when you attack. That is the old shard that you now get for free when you run Arsonist. This could be interesting on Corbat. And the other one is called Stoked, which I think is also interesting on all Bat Rider versions. You set yourself on fire when you use Firefly. You lose 2% of your max health per second, but you get increasingly higher bonuses to move speed and spell amp over time. The max bonuses on level 4 are 40% move speed and 20% spell amp. And they scale up all the way, I'm guessing linearly the whole way, from 0 to 40 and 0 to 20 respectively. I think a Bat Rider we saw today with just Tranquil Boots, he approached close to 500 move speed with Firefly toward the end. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, this, again, a lot of these, well, I guess we'll probably talk about the end, but it feels like when they implemented these facets, a lot of them are super imbalanced. Some of them were not interesting, and they're tightening it up a bit.
Yeah.
And like this one, for example, I think they're really cooking with something.
And this is the
no pun intended,
this is the 3rd or 4th ability now that does self-damage in this patch. It's something they're really pushing here,
true.
Which I'm a big proponent of this because, like I've talked about countless times in this podcast, I love the idea of risk-reward in hero designs and in spell designs where you're paying a price to get something stronger. By design, that's kind of what Night Stalker even is as a hero. It's like, you get to be strong at night, but you suck at day.
Yeah.
Make use of it, you know? And we're going to get to Dawnbreaker too for that in a moment. Okay. Sticky Napalm tweaked it a little bit. We'll leave that be. The numbers are just tweaked around a little bit. I'm not sure exactly how this ends up playing out with the new Arsonist one. You guys can try that for yourself if you're Bat Rider enjoyers. Beastmaster, one of the strong heroes of the last patch at pro level. He loses 3 agi, he loses damage, drums of Shalom are worse, and his inner beast talent is then slightly improved on level 15. Overall, nerf to the hero, without a doubt. Bloodseeker gets a new facet. Instead of Blood Rush, he now has Old Blood, where Blood Rage replaces the spell amp with base damage amp, and the ability also silences the target and can be cast on enemies. Decreases cast range to 400 from 800, mana cost up from 0 to 60.
This one, first of all, the name is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's just Old Bloodseeker.
Yeah.
It's like, it actually works as a name.
Yeah,
the original Blood Rage from Dota 1 was like this.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it's cool.
Bounty Hunter, I don't know why, got buffed. I think this hero was already pretty good. The fade time on Friendly Shadow is shorter, so it's faster for your allies to go invis when you cast it on them. And you get 5 more damage on the level 10 talent if you want to run that one. So the hero's just better. You lost nothing.
Yeah.
Then it's about whether the game makes him better or not. That's a different story. We'll skip through Brewmaster. He got a bit better, though, overall. Bristleback. Seeing Red has slightly bigger vision cone, so you're a little bit less blind. It's such an interesting concept, that one. Broodmother's Spider's Milk is no longer dispellable. I forget what that innate is.
Couldn't tell you.
Hate Brood. Fuck that hero.
Yep,
Centaur.
Cares. My boy, Counter-Strike, Subtick enabled, baby. So Double Edge now also counts non-hero damage taken from enemies. I really don't think this will make any difference on this facet. But Double Edge does get a cast range increase by 25, which is nice, but it's not tied to the facet, so I have a hard time seeing anyone still going for this one.
I think Counter-Strike could be interesting against certain heroes and playstyles that revolve a lot around additional units, like Chen, Enigma, you know? Because everything that hits you just bumps up your Double Edge a lot faster, taking creeps.
See,
right?
As much as I hate to say this, I don't think you're going to be able to get a second facet that people will take unless it's mega busted. You're giving up a free slot for your boots. You're gaining a slot, and that's 500 gold. Like,
yeah,
that is so fucking good.
You're slower than boots.
Yeah, but you're never going to buy it.
I don't think this is necessarily that bad, but I think you need to feel it in game how much Double Edge charge you get from getting hit by Creep Wave. This could be something in lane even.
It can't be that much though.
Not sure. It's one of those things you just need to try it. Like,
using this facet against heroes, it's noticeable once you take damage, but the creeps feels like it's underwhelming.
All right, this one is really interesting. So Chen gets some love. He gets slightly better laning, just damage and stats. We're not going to go through every spell, but I will talk about his new Ags, which is really interesting. So if any of you guys have played original Warcraft 3, there's a hero called Shadowhunter, and his ultimate is called Big Bad Voodoo. You get at level 6, where you start channeling, and every ally around you gets invulnerable except you. You take full damage, you're CCable, and if you get silenced or stunned, your ulti stops. The new Chen Ags seems heavily inspired by that. It makes your ulti channeling. Hand of God becomes a channeled spell, 40-second less cooldown. After the initial heal, Chen can keep channeling the ability for up to 6 seconds to grant debuff immunity with 60% magic resistance to all allied units within 800 radius with the exception of himself. This effect also triples Hand of God's heal over time for all units within the debuff immunity radius. We had a Chen today. He did not go for this.
Nope.
He went standard stuff, Greaves.
So if you're not grouped up, if you're alone on like
useless,
it does nothing.
Yeah,
right?
But there's a theory that this could be interesting in late game situations for Chens where they could get BKB and then Ags, and then you BKB yourself, you BKB your entire team, and late game team fights could be cool. I don't know how good this is. I just think it's a cool creative idea. Clockwork, we mentioned Chainmail. We've had that already. They changed Arcane Overflow a bit for CM. Every pro player was taking the Glacial Guard. This is now a bit different. So allied mana restoration is decreased, but now you restore a portion of the mana to yourself, and you no longer interrupt your movement when you activate this, which should mean you can use it during ulti with Ags now, which you couldn't before. So that's interesting. Then we have...
That's the one that you activate and you get Spell Amp or something.
A lot of Spell Amp, yeah. You get Spell Amp and higher mana cost. And the reason you couldn't activate it during your ulti with Ags was that then you could bypass the mana cost.
Right.
But I think you can now, based on this. I'm assuming that's why it says that. We'll see if anybody experiments with that. Okay, I mentioned NS. Dawn is now Day Striker, Day Stalker, whatever you want to call it. She works... She's not worse at night, but she's better at day. So she loses 5 base damage, but during the daylight, when sun comes out, Dawnbreaker gains 25% bonus base damage and bonus vision that decreases throughout the course of the day down to 0% at night. She's literally the counterpart to Night Stalker, but does not have a drawback of being shit at night. She's still, a stronger hero at night than Night Stalker is at day. But she's also less good at day than he is at night. So it's a really interesting dynamic. I think this is super cool. This is one of my favorite heroes ever. I play it a lot, and I can't wait to try this, especially because bonus damage is very interesting on a hero like this, because bonus damage affects critical strikes and the way you scale up, right? So when you have Luminosity and the way you can use this to your advantage, it's like, there's going to be, I think pros will catch up on this and start playing around Dawnbreaker timings where, okay, it's day, let's smoke,
So Phoenix is a great ally for Dawnbreaker, potentially.
Oh, that's true. You can just egg and then she gets
25% base damage with egg.
Yeah. If that works, that's a pretty fucking cool combo.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't see why.
And I believe egg overrides every other day-night cycle spell in the game.
Supernova always takes priority over Eclipse and NS ulti. But the question then is, if Phoenix makes a 6-second day, then how long do you have the 25% bonus damage for? Does it consider that this is a 6-second span, so it scales down really fast? Or does it think, it's day, guess it's day for 5 minutes, you have full damage the whole egg, and then you lose it all?
I would think you get full, yeah.
Yeah, I would think so too, but it's interesting. Pretty cool combo. It sounds like something to try. I'll quickly mention Death Prophet, because these numbers changes are pretty big. Silence is faster, Silence AoE talent is bigger, and Crypt Swarm is way better on level 1. Up from 85 to 100 damage. She can probably be played as both support and offlane now, and of course mid. I think teams are going to try this specifically because, maybe it's not that much. She gets a bit better, but again, a lot of her matchups got worse. So, new facet for Disruptor. He has 3 facets now. He has one called Transference, where you can now increase the level of electromagnetic repulsion, which is your passive, your innate, to level 4, and every time you level up your ulti, your repulsion gets stronger. But now you can activate your innate to target allies or yourself to deal damage of your current health, and still push them back, I'm assuming. Just like regular repulsion.
Do you know if
This is interesting.
they were playing around and I wasn't really paying attention, but does it work right away when you cast it?
I think so. I think it doesn't have any travel time, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, okay. It's an interesting one.
It's interesting, yeah. Okay, Doom, not really important. Shaker gets a new facet called Resonating Ridge.
Well, they removed Spirit Cairn, which was the most boring shit ever, by the way.
Yeah, that was his innate where he makes a stone when he dies.
Yeah, that was...
And gets experience around it.
Completely. That was so weird.
I have died to that one time in a game. I killed a Shaker in the tree line above the tier 1 tower, and I got stuck.
Oh, wow.
Because his totem blocked my path, so I couldn't get out. Very rare situation.
So they deleted Slugger, which everybody was taking, and now it's the innate.
Yeah, but then the numbers are worse, which they should. I mean, Slugger was way too good, but this is kind of interesting. So Resonating Ridge, whenever enemies heroes stunned by... when you stun an enemy hero with Fissure, they emit an echo to each nearby unit within 400 radius, dealing 60% of Echo Slam's current echo damage. This effectively makes your Echo Slam combo stronger because you echo and fissure as part of that combo, which means you echo, fissure, and then mini echo again. And at the same time, they also buffed Tectonic Buildup. This is way better. Before you got plus 50 AoE every 10 levels. Now you get plus 40 AoE every time you level your ult, which means instead of having 50 at level 10 and 100 at level 20, now you have 40 at level 6 and 80 at level 12. Tectonic Buildup, I think, is actually really interesting now. And of course, level 18, 120 AoE on Aftershock is very nice. I think both of these facets are good. And depending on how good Slugger will be with this innate, we'll see. The hero might actually be better overall, especially as support.
This one feels like...
Chain Gang gets another... Yeah.
Back and forth.
They don't know what to do with their Ember. Grimstroke. Fine Art. Grimstroke launches a mirrored curve stroke from his free hand. Each enemy can take damage from only one stroke, but still contributes to bonus damage accumulation for both. This I haven't seen in game yet.
No.
It sounds really strange, but maybe it's good.
Lyrical's gonna be real happy with this. He was going ham with the original Fine Art, which is now in the base apparently. I don't. Is it worse though? I feel like the vector targeting one that they had was longer range or something. Than
it's way longer range. Yeah, it's
but still. Is it still not like that now?
I guess no.
So then he's gonna be sad. Sorry, Lyrical.
Yeah, I don't actually know about this. We'll see. Okay, slight number changes. Invoker, oh my god. Time to read a book, everybody. I'll try to simplify this a little bit. We'll look at just the facets here. So, Scholar of Corex, which is the Quas focus for Invoker, is where you get a stronger Ice Wall and Ghost Walk. Now, the Shard upgrades, the Ice Wall is now upgraded by the Scepter, and it makes it vector targeted where you draw a direction it's facing, where it starts materializing into a wall. And if you're stuck inside it long enough, you get frozen and rooted in place. It does damage, and you can use this to clear creep waves, to kill heroes, and to combo with. You can like tornado into Ice Wall to keep people in place and stuff. It's interesting. I don't know how. Bless you. Ghost Walk is now upgraded with the Shard, and that increases the slow radius and applies Ice Wall's damage per second while you're walking through them, so kind of Radiance-ish. Still weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then Mind of Tornorus, which is the Wex version. They made the Tornado a bit better, but now Alacrity no longer provides bonus attack range to Invoker and controlled units, and Wex no longer gains additional second level from Ag Scepter. That's the same on all of them. You don't get the extra leveling your orb. The number improvements on Tornado does not look appealing. I don't think it's that good. And then finally, Agent of Galaron, which everyone was playing, Exort, got nerfed. So, I don't know.
I mean, I still think conceptually, I would love for every hero to have facets like this, where it just changes the Ags and Shard. I think that's so cool.
I should say, though, Exort Invoker does get more attack damage. You get 1 more damage per level of the orb, which especially is interesting on the earlier levels, where 1, 3, 5, 7 up to 2, 4, 6, 8 helps in laning. And Forge Spirits last way longer. They used to last 10 seconds level 1, now they last 24. So they're much... Their shorter duration in the end doesn't really matter. It's the faster, earlier, better duration. So maybe Exort Invoker is actually kind of... it cost a bit on the Cataclysm and on the Meteor, but this other stuff maybe compensates for it. All right, Io has a new innate.
Do you remember what his old one was?
It was the one where you could quicker take the Watchers.
By 1 second.
By 1 second. Now,
really strong.
Io's new one is Wellspring. Consumable items and item abilities that restore health and mana over time affect Io twice as fast. The total amount of health restored or mana remains the same. This applies to Healing Salve, Tango, Clarity, Bottle, Urn, Vessel, Polywalk Charm, and Mana Draft.
Sounds really annoying to deal with.
Yeah, it should just make Io way better in lane, right? In theory, because you, but in turn, by healing yourself more, you heal your ally more.
Yep.
Yeah, seems good. I don't know. Supposedly Io's win rate went down, but that's probably because people read this and they're like, oh my god, Io Imba, and then people don't know how to play Io.
Yeah, potentially.
I would guess. Jakiro gets, let's see.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, so Jakiro gets nerfed a bit. Pretty popular hero from the last patch.
This hero needs to come back.
Yeah, I really miss Jugger. I think this is an iconic Dota hero that we've lost for a while.
The fact that you can't get a fucking first blood with somebody setting up with a slow CM or something into spin, that was so iconic for this hero.
And it's back.
Yeah.
So now instead of Blade Fury scaling with attack speed, it now does the old version where
failed experiment.
It does more damage. Yeah, they just tried that. And I think the old spin was 80, 100, 120, 140 DPS. Now it's 80, 110, 140, 170. So just stronger than the old Blade Fury. And his level 20 talent gives it 90 additional DPS. That's quite a lot, actually. It hits pretty hard in the end when you use that. Nerf to Coddle. Recall only gives mana to the teleport target, not to both of you. That's fair. This hero was very strong. Kez gets changed in 2,000 different fucking ways. If you like Kez, great for you, or I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah, I'm going to stop reading his patch notes until he's in CM, and then we can learn how he actually works.
That hero gets changed more than any other hero times 2. So it's crazy. Grog Blossom, when you return, you always get Admiral buff to yourself on Kunkka now. Interesting. Then Legion Commander's Innate outfight them levels up with Duel, and it increases, instead of increasing healing, health regen, lifesteal, and spell lifesteal, it increases health restoration, but by a scaling amount. And now it applies when attacking enemy heroes that are equal or higher level than you instead of only higher level. So a little bit better there.
It's good for laning.
Chronoptic Nourishment, which is Leshrac, you restore mana based on attack damage, has been flatlined to 25% at all levels, and it no longer improves with Pulse Nova. I would say this is way better, because it's just better in lane. Everybody and their mother were taking Misanthropy. And this could be interesting, because obviously by nature of taking this, you get the old Edict that damages towers, which I think is iconic for Lesh. It was a very special part of the hero, and people just weren't taking it because Misanthropy was too good.
Massive nerf to his shard.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of the neutralize.
Yeah, possibly.
Has to be, right?
Split Earth casts one
Nobody was
less
playing this hero. So.
shard, yeah. Lich gets a new facet that replaces Frostbound. Frostbound was the one that let Chainfrost linger.
That's part of his base
which
now.
is now just a base part of Chainfrost. And instead he now gets Evil Eye, where you apply a debuff that will deal additional damage every time you deal magic damage to the target. It amplifies the move speed slows, so after you gaze, your combo is stronger and all your spells are better. This is a buff to the hero. The Lich was dead, man. I hope he comes back a bit. They over-nerfed this hero.
It's funny because he was really overpowered apparently, and I didn't get to cast him once because I took like that 3-4 month break. The entire time he was broken. Sad.
But he wasn't even one of the... he was definitely very, very good, but he was not the support in Pro Dota even. He was but just the support in pubs. Very strong there. La 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 la. A lot of small changes. Like we talked about, most heroes got changed somehow, a little bit here and there, but we'll only go over the big ones. I'll mention Medusa because she was so popular. This is a clever way of nerfing this hero, in my opinion. Medusa is so... What makes this hero strong is mana as a resource. It is what makes the hero. It's what makes you tanky and what makes you difficult to deal with and needing to be counter-itemized. So one way of nerfing Medusa is to increase her mana costs, because then she pays health to cast spells. She is the Huskar of Int, in a way. And you gain less mana back from your snake at higher levels, and you pay more mana to cast Gorgon's Grasp, and you pay more mana to cast Stone Gaze, which means every time you enter a fight, you're more killable. This is a great way of nerfing this hero. I'm very much on board with that logic. If the numbers are good enough, who knows? But it's a smart way to fix the problem the hero had. We've talked about changing of the guard for Monkey King, the new facet. Muerta.
Real quick, Morphling,
Yeah.
I was a little surprised that nothing was done to Adaptive Strike. People are going stats. So they're going to continue to go stats, I guess.
Yeah, so the previous morph that we just had, the pro build, was not skilling Adaptive Strike at all. It was going 4 in waveform, 2 in attribute shift, and then taking stats. And now you've been punished on the stat gain of the attribute shift, but you're not getting compensated with Adaptive Strike. That is still the same, which is pretty bad. You lost 0.5 mana regen, and you lost 0.6 strength gain. This hero got axed hard. This is probably, if not the most nerfed hero of the patch, it's, I would say, top 3.
Yeah.
This got nerfed really hard. Good riddance. I hate this hero. But that's just personal bias. All right, Muerta. My theory is they changed this facet not because they thought it was uninteresting or bad, but because people were using it to grief. So the old one was the Ofrenda facet, where you leave behind an Ofrenda, and when you respawn, you teleport to where the Ofrenda is. People were using this to run it down mid when they were tilted.
It's the most efficient way to do so.
It's the most efficient. It effectively allowed you to grief the game in an irrecoverable manner. Like, there was no way out of it. They've replaced that now with Quick Draw, and this one is pretty cool. Whenever you fear an enemy with Deadshot, your Gunslinger proc chance increases to 1.5 times the amount for 5 seconds. And each time your Gunslinger procs, Deadshot cooldown is reduced by 1 second. So this is like synergistic with it.
I really like this one. Sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Obviously synergizes with Ags, but at the same time, do you want to go Ags if you're a right-click Muerta, which we're not seeing right-click Muerta necessarily, but the fact that you want to combine those two, I think, makes this unique.
I also think it's one of those things where, you know, when you play a game and it's rhythmic and you're in the zone, it's like, you know, super satisfying that you're hitting your combos or whatever. This is like, the way you're playing Muerta with this is you hit your dead shot, you get your crits, you hit your dead shot against, like, this ricocheting effect with itself that I think is super cool.
I'm a little sad about Ofrenda, though, because, I mean, it was never good, but it's a cool concept, right?
Yeah, it was unique, but I don't know. They never found the way to make it. Maybe it'll come back someday. Deluge for Naga got changed. It no longer reduces status resistance, but it does more damage on higher levels, and now it gives even more.
So what does it do?
It's where
the other one is minus armor.
Yeah, Deluge deals damage and sets their max movement speed down.
Okay.
I don't know how much better Naga gets from this, but I think she got a bit better. Okay, Prophet, we talked about it. He loses Ironwood Treant, which was the dumbest talent in the entire game, and Facet, excuse me.
I mean, okay, real quick, is it just the 25 talent, though, that was the problem?
The Facet itself was super stupid. Just the Treant in lane, you couldn't deal with it. It was just annoying.
You don't think it could have been nerfed to a point where it was fine?
Yeah, you could have redesigned it, but I would have been happy with the redesign as well. The fact that it's no longer the way it was what was important to me. Now, I think Prophet probably got over-nerfed, which is a different story entirely. This hero was obviously very good, but he loses 20 attack range, he loses damage on Sprout, he loses barrier on Teleport, and then his new Facet Nature's Prophet is funny, and it's a wordplay. Valve loves these, but it's like you kill an enemy hero and they drop gold bags that people need to pick up to get additional gold around some money tree. And it doesn't seem that great. However, the Soothing Saplings one for supports might be really interesting. So the way it works now is whenever you sprout someone, or whenever you cast Sprout, every tree and 1200 AoE around your Sprout get enchanted, and they emit a healing aura for up to 50 healing per second. And then on level 15, you can get a talent that makes it 30% more. This is kind of an interesting idea for support Prophet, where you can maybe play him in lane and then max Sprout for the damage, and then you also heal. Like, it's like this equilibrium of, if you think about Brain Sep for Bane, why it's so strong is that it transfers you damage and you heal. This is damage and heal for you and your lane partner. It's kind of like March of the Machines, but instant.
For the other one, the gold bags, if you're killing them globally, the gold ends up where the dead body is. Like, if you kill it with your ult. So then you have to TP to get the gold.
Oh, it's so fun.
Should be interesting. Another thing I want to mention, I feel like they've done this for other... I don't know why I'm noticing this now, but there's talent specifically for the facets.
Which one?
Like, these... For both these facets, they have a level 15 talent that changes because you're picking that facet.
Oh, yeah.
There's a couple other in the game like that, right?
A few, I think.
I wonder, like I was talking about how ags and shards can be changed. What if the talent tree completely changes based off?
Yeah,
Like you have so many of these knobs you can turn.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Okay. Slight numbers. Omni Knight. Hammer of Purity mana cost reduced to 0. Hammer of Purity now briefly slows the target's movement speed by 75% for 0.2 seconds, and now also gives 75 attack range. Just a total buff to this ability, whether you're playing core or support. But we talked about it on cast today. We still think this hero has an identity issue. It kind of doesn't know exactly what it wants to be.
Yeah.
I think other heroes, Valve has very elegantly managed to make heroes flex. This hero just still, to me, feels...
Not every hero needs to flex, though.
That's fine. I mean, if they want to make him a core, they can make him core. If they want to make him support, they can make him support. And if they want to make him flex, they can make him flex. But right now, it's like there's something missing somehow. And maybe with more time with this build, perhaps he becomes a great core or a great support. But
I never liked this ability, the Hammer of Purity.
No. My biggest problem with this hero is the cooldown of Repel. I think that is what makes him hard to place, because for a support, the cooldown is too long to be good.
What's Fate's Edict?
Right. That's
cooldown off the top of your head, roughly.
20 minus 4 per level? No.
And Omni Knight's is 50, right? And of course the difference
55
is...
55 minus 5 per level.
So Omni Knight's Repel will give you HP regen and strength based on how many debuffs you're taking off.
Yeah, and debuff immunity.
Right. And Fate's Edict gives you debuff immunity.
Magic immunity, not debuff immunity. You can still be stunned when you have Fate's Edict. You just don't take magic damage.
Really?
Yeah.
Why did it always used to be the other way?
No, it's always worked that way. But obviously when you're in Fate's Edict, generally you would think of it as like, okay, well, I'm not taking the magic damage, so all the spells that cast stuns, they will stun but not deal damage.
I see. So it's 100% magic immunity?
Yeah.
Huh.
You take 0 spell damage from magic sources, but you take all the effects during Edict. The spells are quite different, but I think it's an interesting comparison because the way Edict scales down, the cooldown on level 4 is pretty low. I think it might be 20 minus 3 per level or something like that, but Repel on max level is still over 30 seconds. Like it's cast one time in a fight, hope it is impactful, and otherwise you're just there. They've gone through multiple iterations of his ult. It used to be AoE around you, now it's ground cast. It's I don't know. I personally think there could be something to explore with Omni where you make Repel the ulti and then make it really good, considering it has a long cooldown, and then you make Guardian Angel into something else for the default spell or something.
Yeah, I actually agree with that because it is awkward. It's always been awkward for Omni, even from Dota 1, that he has essentially BKB and then physical immunity spell. Those feels like they should be on different heroes, right?
Yeah, I could see that.
So if anything, you should get rid of Repel.
Yeah, or make it the ulti and get rid of Guardian Angel.
Because physical immunity is not that common.
That's true. That's rarer. Yeah, you could redesign Repel into something else, which is kind of what they did with Heavenly Grace. And maybe we could have kept Heavenly Grace. I don't necessarily think that was a problem. I definitely like that version of Omni more, but I think the patch where they put Repel back was a nostalgia patch. That was the patch where they put in a lot of stuff that people would remember from the past. Repel was one of them. I don't remember all the other things, but there was that was the theme of that was return to old Dota stuff.
I believe our food is here?
We're pretty close to the end at this point. We're all the way down.
It's going to take 25 minutes now.
Yeah, I can wait for that. I'd rather do that.
Then get the food.
Yeah. It'll still be warm. We'll speed through it. The remaining heroes don't have that much.
Okay, send her in.
I promise.
All right.
Okay, PL gets a new Scepter upgrade. You get 625 charge range on Phantom Rush, and then you spawn an illusion when you run through literally any enemy, including creeps.
Yeah, I don't know about this one.
This hero's just fucking weird, man. I don't know. And for me, good riddance. I hate playing against PL when he's good, but I empathize with PL and Joyous because this hero's dead. He's just not good. And I don't think he's
dog shit still.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pudge got worse, barely, but I guess it's the same thing.
It's kind of the same. A little nerf. Change. Okay, for Ringmaster's innate, Dark Carnival Barker. If Ringmaster does not have a souvenir, he will be granted one upon death instead of upon respawn. Ringmaster will no longer be granted a souvenir. He has no souvenirs and dies to a neutral creep or Roshan.
I mean, this was not worth reading. Let's
No,
be real.
I actually hadn't read it before now. It's just weird that it even changed.
It's just like we don't want to reward you for neutral creep deaths.
And then some significant numbers nerfs. This was one of the big heroes of the last patch. Sand King gets a facet rework entirely. So he no longer has Sand Shroud or Dust Devil. They just scrap both.
Yeah, I think it's the good move there.
And then the two new ones he has, one is Sand Blast, which is when you attack enemies in Sandstorm, you blind them. And the other one is Final Sting, which is every enemy hero that's hit by Stinger in the innermost radius instantly emit Caustic Finale for 50% of caustic damage. But the thing worth keeping in mind here is now Sandstorm is bigger radius than when you had Dust Devil, but it's smaller radius than when you had Sand Shroud. But it has the invisibility by default, so no matter which facet you take now, you have the invis part.
They took Sand Blast today, the blind one. I didn't. We talked about it at the beginning of the game. I literally didn't notice the blind ever.
But I think Sand Blast will generally be the better one, and I think this is a great direction to take this hero.
When you use Stinger, it applies that, right, to everybody? The blind? Right?
You mean when you have Sand Blast? I don't know. That would make sense, but... okay, Shadow Fiend, they're trying to make Feast of Souls a thing. They make longer cooldown on it and higher mana cost, but you get move speed. We saw Nisha play this today. It was not noticeable, really. He was struggling in general in that game to have impact in fights. But they made Shadowmire a lot better. The slow of Shadowmire is a lot better on lower levels. That's the one where you combo for a slow.
That's right.
Silencer loses both of his facets. He gets
deleted.
2 new ones.
He has been deleted.
One of them is Glaives of Wisdom, has 5 skill points, and it bounces on the 5th point, but you pay mana for both targets that it hits. You pay the glaive cost. And the other one is you do more damage to silenced targets, and you take less damage from them, which scales with Global Silence. He is so much worse with this, I think, as a support. And if you try to make him a core, I just don't see it.
He was literally only picked for the facets.
Yeah, so, reverberating sign.
I think it's best that they go down. I mean, this is not good enough, but that they reset him, which they did, and then work off of that.
Think of something else. But the problem with these two facets is I think neither of them is really good for support. I just don't think it matters that much.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, wait, it says he takes less damage, right?
Yeah, so when you global, you take less damage, but does that, that's not what you cast global for. No. You cast global to combo break the enemy and to kill them with your team, and you don't have the reverberate. Mm-hmm. So now your global is just going to get dispelled. Back to the old problem of Silencer.
Yeah.
Everyone has a lot of gold. They dispel your shit. You suck.
No neutrals do that anymore, though, right?
That's right. Okay, Planar Pocket is reworked. That is Spirit Breaker's Ags. It is now a unit-targeted ability. Barathrum gains 75% magic resist and distorts reality around the selected hero, making any unit-targeted spells cast by enemy heroes on the target to get redirected towards Spirit Breaker. Can be cast on both allies and enemy heroes, but only spells cast by enemies of Spirit Breaker will be redirected. Ios Tether is the only exception that will ignore this effect. Redirected spells are not considered reflected. If Spirit Breaker is under effects such as Lotus Orb, redirected spells will be reflected back to the enemy caster. If the redirected spell has different interactions for allies and enemies, Spirit Breaker will receive the enemy interaction.
So this is just better, right?
Yeah, it just... Before, it was reflecting one spell to you, right?
Was it just one spell? I thought it was just anything that's cast on you during the duration. But either way, casting this on an enemy sounds really weird. Like, what would you... they just try to get healed? Like, you get graved, or they get graved and grave goes on you instead? Mm-hmm. That's kind of cool. I don't know if anybody would... That's so niche, though, right?
It's a pretty cool idea against... This is kind of... How to put it? It's like countering enemy saves. Right? And buffs. You can, steal their spells.
That's true. Not just... Yeah, there's bigger saves than Grave, right? Like the big ones, like False Promise. Imagine...
Yeah.
Damn.
And this is dispellable only by strong dispel now. Before it was dispellable by soft dispel. So it's pretty interesting. I think this is kind of cool and a different way of thinking about Spirit Breaker, perhaps.
Damn, an anti-save hero.
Yeah,
that's kind of really cool. Yeah, I like that a lot.
It's interesting for sure. Templar Assassin gets nerfed in lane in particular. She was a very overpowered hero last patch. She is still getting first picked in Pro Dota. I think she did not get nerfed enough, but at least she got nerfed. Minimum silence duration on traps is axed. It's super bad on almost insta-trap silence, which is good. Meld does less minus armor in lane and lower levels, and does less bonus damage on lower levels, but refraction is unchanged, and Psyblades are nerfed because the level 15 talent got removed. With the spill range, it gives Meld armor reduction instead. She's still very, very good, but it goes to show just how insane she was when, after these nerfs, she's still first picked. And I don't think it's because the pro teams are slow to react. I think the hero's just still crazy, but now it's just not ridiculous, perhaps. Terrorblade loses 1 HP regen, and then mana cost of reflection goes up significantly on level 1.
God, fuck this hero, man.
Metamorphosis damage goes down on lower levels, but it's actually higher on higher levels. But then Demon Zeal loses 40 move speed down from 100 to 60. Clearly nerfed, especially in early laning, where this is the theme for both TA and Terrorblade, which is we are going to nerf the aspects that make these heroes almost unbeatable in lane for offlaners. They're both worse, which is very, very good. We're almost at the end. Underlord, we're going to skip these actually. Veno gets a reworked facet. So Plague Carrier, which was the one where you could just stack Plague Wards on yourself. Now instead, Plague Wards deal septic shock damage based on their damage. And when Venomous Gale impacts enemy heroes, you create 2 Plague Wards. This was an old talent based on the level of Plague Ward. So Septic Shock is your innate, which increases your damage output per debuff you have on the enemy. And then now this is Plague Carrier on the wards instead. I think this is interesting for support Veno, potentially. Maybe you can play core Veno with this? Gotta have to try that. I think he's one of the biggest winners of the patch in terms of win rate. I remember hearing that. Of course, take it with a grain of salt, win rates. We don't have 8.5k above numbers for that anymore, but generally speaking, most of the stuff that happens in high or at least low immortal will oftentimes translate quite well.
I'm a little sad that you can't jungle Veno. I would like for a couple heroes to be jungleable, you know?
I think the way you reintroduce jungle is by reintroducing the concept rather than making heroes busted at jungling. Yeah. I think I would rather see that. So it's an option you have as a strategy. And Witch Doctor, I believe this is the final one. He loses Headhunter. That was the one where your cask does more damage per bounce and was very good for killing creeps.
Does that by default now?
But it does not deal bonus damage to creeps, but it still does more per bounce. Instead, now Witch Doctor has a facet called Malpractice. When an enemy dies under the effect of Maledict, 75% of what the next burst damage amount would have been is dealt to enemies in 800 units. This effect works even if the enemy dies to the last burst of damage.
What's the other facet that he has? They got rid of the
Voodoo Festoration is not in anymore.
They got rid of that one.
I actually forget what the other one is.
So wait, there was the Paralyzing Cask one, and then the third was... Oh, it's the Death Ward related one, right? Where it's like a mini Ags.
Oh, the Cleave? Yeah.
Am I crazy? This facet sounds like shit. We're going back up?
Yeah, because there was a shard rework for Void Spirit that I missed.
Oh, right.
So with the shard on Void Spirit, it creates an additional Watcher path that rotates around the Remnant, providing True Sight. The Remnant no longer triggers on creeps, instead dealing 50% of their damage every second in both paths.
Did we see this today? I didn't notice
I don't think Emo bought this, but this is the kind of thing you just need to see and try in game. But it sounds kind of interesting. But yeah, that was a shard rework that we skipped over.
Wait, go back to Witch Doctor. Does this thing sound good to you? It sounds terrible.
I don't know. It's so situational, right? That's the problem. Yeah. I find facets that are strictly situational to be really underwhelming because every situation in the game that you don't kill an enemy under Maledict, this does nothing. It does nothing in laning. It's such a specific case where it's going to be super cool, but you need to get Maledict on a hero. That hero has to die. And then the enemies have to be close enough.
Yeah.
And they also have to have taken a lot of damage with Maledict on them, otherwise the splash is irrelevant. It's so specific. I think this needs to do something else in addition, honestly.
Yeah, like lower cooldown on Maledict or something.
Something like that. I don't know what it would be. Or bigger AoE on the cast itself. I don't know. It's a cool concept, though. I think the idea is interesting. It reminds me of the way Noxious Plague spreads when the hero dies, right?
Yeah, true.
But... I don't know. Okay.
All right, thoughts on patch?
That is the patch. So overall, let's.
First of all, I would say this is the quality of life stuff is amazing. Always happy with quality of life.
Yeah.
In terms of like a number patch, I would say it's in terms of content definitely below what a normal number patch would be. It's definitely higher than a letter patch, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But the fact that we're at this tournament and it came out is an enormous plus for me, so I'm extremely happy. We saw different heroes, saw a lot of different strategies, and for that I'm very thankful. So overall good.
Yeah, I think for me this patch is solid mainly because I think the biggest issue Dota was facing right now was just discrepancy between hero levels. That this is trying to level the playing field, so more heroes are viable, fewer heroes are S plus tier, but maybe instead S or A, so it becomes a little bit more fair. We immediately saw a lot of new ideas today. I think a lot of the changes to neutral items were very good. They cycled out some of the really dumb ones, and I think they were pretty creative with the new ones. We'll see how good they are. I personally would still love to see economy changes. I think a lot of people have asked for that for a while. It seems Valve are deliberately avoiding that, so perhaps they have some data or a attitude that suggests that people really enjoy there being as much gold on the map as there is, but some people are talking about it would be cool if the game felt a little bit slower, with heroes getting 6 slotted, like carries get 6 slotted at what, 30 minutes? Used to maybe be 45 minutes, simply because they ramp up quicker with all the space they have access to, and supports have more items, which I get it, it's fun to play with items, but perhaps slowing things down a little bit can make different playstyles and different strategies emerge. What?
No.
But yeah, overall, I'm overall pretty pleasant or pretty satisfied with this. I could have hoped for a little bit more. For me, it's mainly the economy and the fact that, for me personally, nothing was changed about Immortal Draft, which is a total bummer, and about the matchmaking system. I think my number one hope for this patch would have been improved matchmaking for everyone. And obviously Immortal Draft is where it's, I would say, almost most egregious. I personally still think Immortal Draft is a failed experiment. I think you can just axe it and go back to old matchmaking where people can queue for the roles they want to play, and then you can generate games based on that. I think there's enough players that play support. I don't think we struggle with that. Just have people queue with primary, secondary, and tertiary role. Sometimes you get your primary, sometimes you get your secondary, sometimes you get your tertiary, but you'll get something. And then generate games. And I think for lower ranks, people are also complaining that I just think the MMR scale is very inaccurate right now. And that's not to like glaze myself or whatever. It's like more of a general assessment that the range and its representation of actual player skill on, I think, both ends of the scale is quite inaccurate after all the double down shenanigans we had. So I think it would have been cool to either take the range and squash it, just like clamp it down. Everybody loses 25%.
I thought that would be done months ago.
Or reset the whole shit and go crazy. But I don't like that.
The thing is, there's options that they could have done that would be super fast, super easy, and it could be a Band-Aid. A Band-Aid's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm still struggling to see the downside to just cutting everyone by 25%. Leaderboard number 1 will still be number 1. Herald with 1 MMR will still be Herald with 1 MMR. And everyone else will be closer together. And then you give it time and it will normalize and it will spread out. I don't know if part of the issue with doing that is that there will be a lot of negative backlash for people that are like, but I just gained a bigger number. And people are more attached to the number than their medal or their leaderboard placement.
Right.
But that's just one of those things that at some point you just have to deal with this and accept that, well, maybe your number is smaller, but so is everyone else's. So it's like, it doesn't really matter, right?
So with 739, is this the patch? Is this the number patch we have TI on?
Probably, yeah.
The next one is 7.4, which, I mean, I feel like generally when they get to like
the big numbers,
the denominations like that, they end up being quite large. But
I would think that's a post-TI patch where they try to shake shit up, or even maybe close to Christmas. I mean, it's half a year, right?
That's a long time.
How long was 738? It was probably half a year, right?
I don't know. Yeah,
with every letter patch we had?
They should have had more letter patches for sure.
So
okay, well,
all right. Well, I don't know if you want to give it a rating from 1 to 10. For me, it's like, I don't know, 7, 8 maybe.
Yeah, 7.
It's solid,
but not blowing me away.
I'm pretty satisfied.
Can't wait to try the chainmail. Clockwork strat. Boy, boy.
Like everybody else, tank the win rate along with everybody else.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody.
7:30. Excuse me. Before we leave, 7:38 was in February, so only 3 months.
Why does it feel so long?
It feels so long. Yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, at least this is being claimed in chat. I don't know. I can't fact check that right now. We'll assume it's correct though. If that's true, maybe 7.4 will be in. When is TI again? September?
Yeah.
It's probably after. Let's be real. But it might be shortly after TI. I think Valve wants to play into the hype of TI as well and get people, people get excited to play when they watch TI.
God, I would love a huge patch literally the week of TI.
Yeah, that'd be
Shake
crazy.
things up. All right. That does it for us. Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time. Sunsand Center signing out. Goodbye.
Subscribe.
But thanks for listening.